Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to be reviewing our Griddy to the House League. I meant to upload this a few days ago, but I just got really busy with work, so we're going to upload it now. If you guys can leave a comment in the video, or just a comment below on ideas for the YouTube channel, please do. It would be greatly appreciated. That way I can, um, at the very least, have some sort of ideas. I'm trying to do something unique and different from other channels, so it's not like super repetitive, but I might have to do a few things kind of the same. But for today, we're going to be breaking down my team and then what I think other people should do. I'm going to try to keep it about that 40 to 45 minute range without going like crazy over. But we'll start things on off here with my team. Currently, I am sitting with these guys as my starters. Starters in quotes. I have two guys on my IR spots right now that I just haven't moved off, so I can make some off-season moves. So a few of these will differ a little bit. I'll explain that as I go. But Brissett likely will be starting the year for me unless Daniel Jones is 100% by week one. Ashton Genty, James Cook, love my running back duo there. I think it's a really nice combo, and at some point I would like to at least lock down another young guy because Cook is getting a little bit older, but he's probably still got another 3 or 4 good years in him. So aside from that, I got Puka Nakua, Josh Downs, Jaden Reed, Harold Fannin, uh, Javonte Williams, Kyle Monungai, and Bryce Young. Again, Bryce Young might be one that I possibly rotate on out. Actually, I'm going to tell you right now, I will be rotating him on out for Kyler Murray, who I have on my bench. The other starter that I will have here, and I'll break that down as I scroll down, will be Mr. Garrett Wilson. He'll be in my starting lineup, and probably Alec Pierce to start the year. I think those will be the three guys for sure. And then I might rotate someone in like DK Metcalf or I don't know, Jerry Jeudy if he starts off the year good. I don't know yet. But on my bench here currently, I have Spencer Rattler. He's just kind of there in case Tyler Shuck gets hurt. That's really all I can say about that because there's really nothing else behind Shuck that kind of um, happens besides Rattler. So, and then Trey Benson, Jaden Blue, who I have high hopes for at some point. I just wanted him, one, in case Javonte gets hurt, because then he is that backup running back that I can have. But two, I think sometime in the future he will be an actual solid running back and utilized quite a bit. Rookie year, not as hopeful, but it is what it is. Next up, I have Jordan Mason, and then looking forward, Keon Coleman, who I am actually trying to trade. I don't think he's a bad receiver by any means. I just don't know what his usage is going to be. He's still young, so maybe someone will want a younger receiver just as a possible future weapon. But um, first 2 years, we haven't really seen a crazy amount yet. He's had some flashes, but just nothing consistent. Aside from that, Torrey Horton, who I think is going to be a solid receiver. I drafted him last year. Really like him. Alec Ayamaner, or however you say his last name. I don't know how to say it, but um, I think he is an underrated wide receiver. I know he's only played one season, but I think once Cam Ward is in the right system and gets it flowing, I think he'll be a solid piece. Him and Wandale, I think, are going to be really good there in Tennessee. I think Kelvin Ridley's time is really just washed and done, personally. But aside from that, DK Metcalf, I have him in both leagues. A lot of these guys I have in both leagues just because um, it just kind of works out that way. Touch on Jordan Mason a little bit. Signing Aaron Jones kind of put a damper on my thoughts there of him, but um, it is what it is. You can't control anything that they do in signing, so just gotta kind of work with what we got. But aside from that, I do have Alec Pierce and Garrett Wilson again. I probably will have these guys in my starting lineup along with Puka Nakua to start the year, and then again the flex I don't know because I don't know what we're gonna see out of Kyle Monungai right away, so he might be on my bench to at least start the year. Other than that, IR I have Deshaun Watson and Daniel Jones. I only have one taxi, and that's simply because I took both Monungai and Fanning off my taxi early in the year. I mean, Fanning was after like 3 weeks, and then Monungai like the week he got the starting job there. So I only have KLS there on my taxi for now. And we do have some picks. One of the things to touch on here just a little bit is Javonte. I ended up trading to my brother for. It's not going to show me on here, but ended up trading him to my brother for the 26 first, 28 first, and then I got a second and a third in return. So I got a few picks in return from that, but that's why I have no first. And then I traded for Josh Downs before the season started. Used up my first on that as well. So um, that's all I can really say there because nothing crazy happened from that moment on. If I had to be looking for any position, I mean, truthfully, I could be looking for any position here. I wouldn't mind tackling another quarterback because that can give me some trade value down the line. Other than that, I wouldn't mind getting another receiver just because I don't know how I feel my receivers are gonna do, and then maybe one more running back if I can work something out. But um, not too worried though. Team's looking pretty good. Loving what we got, and start to dive on into some of the other teams here. So we will start with Ethan here. His team consisting of Drake May, Kenneth Walker, Travian Henderson, Malik Neighbors, Drake London, Travis Hunter, Loveland, and Coker here in the starting lineup. The one that I think he definitely needs to bench here is going to be Travis Hunter. He's going to be used more so on defense. The Jags have already come out and said that, so we're not going to see a whole lot of him this year. And I think anyone who drafted him was, one, a little bit crazy, but two, hoping that he'd be like that star player on both sides of the field, and I don't think he's going to be that guy ever. He's going to have to play one side mainly, and it's going to be defense, especially with their weapons in BTJ and Jacoby Myers there on offense, and they still have Parker Washington and a few other guys. So um, there's not a whole lot he can do there. He's going to have to play that cornerback there for the Jags. But he also has Tutton and Purdy. I do really like these two starts here as well. I really think Tutton's going to have a good year. I think the Quint Allen as well will also have a pretty solid year, so I'm excited to see what they kind of do. On his bench, he's got Jordan Love, so a nice little fill in there for a super flex spot. And then Mac Jones, who's just kind of there in case Brock Purdy gets hurt, because that does come up quite a bit. Other than that, looking at the bench, I'm not like too, I don't know, perky about it, I guess. Or so, I don't even know what word to use there, just because a lot of these guys are either old or they just don't get a whole lot of playing time. So, I mean, aside from Rashid Shaheed, I don't know. Demario Douglas I've always liked. It's just he's never been utilized. Gadsden, or Gadsden, I don't know how to feel about. I've been back and forth with him all offseason, so we'll see what he does there. And then we have Smith and Etienne. I do like these two running backs at least. He could be playing a really good complement to Walker this year. And then Etienne I actually think is going to beat out Brooks from that RB2 spot, and then possibly getting a starting role down the road. Aside from that, Ethan does have a lot of picks. He likes to trade people away. He ended up getting a first off my dad, and then a few other picks here in the mix as well. So a few players traded throughout the year. I don't know if I'm really going to recap those ones because there's a little. It was like the bare minimum, but I think I also covered that in the last one that we uploaded. So to move on from that, whoops, we're going to pull up my dad's team here. This team consisting of Jared Goff, Bijan Robinson, Omarion Hampton, Abuka, Odenzi, Harrison, Laporta, Myers, and Wandale. And then with Michael Pittman in the super flex there. Pretty solid receiving core, I think, personally. A lot of youth on this team. I really like Abuka. The two running backs obviously are studs. Roma Dunzi and Marv are a little hit or miss for me because I don't know really how these two are going to play out. Like, a Dunzi, for all we know, could just take a backseat to the Burden, and it could just be the Burden and Loveland show. I don't know there. You look at Marv, and with Brissett at the starting helm, I think Michael Wilson's going to have a better year personally, so I don't have any hopes there for Marv to have like a crazy, crazy year. My dad is actively trying to trade Marv, and then like a player like Wandale. You look at his bench, he's looking at trading Etienne as well. In the offseason so far, my dad made a trade for Bill, which I think I talked about briefly in a video prior. And then Etienne, Rashad White, Bigsby, and then the rest of this is kind of meh. I like Johnston on his bench. Mason Taylor as well. I like that as well there. So I know my dad has high hopes for all three of these guys here, so I'm sure we're going to see a few of these guys traded down the line just because of knowing him. He's going to try to trade a few of these guys, or if some of these guys become irrelevant, he's going to end up dropping them. But other than that, he's only got one pick just because he has expended all of his picks. He is trying to trade players for some picks, so we'll see if he picks any up with some of those. A lot of youth. Pretty solid team. I'll give him that. As much as I hate to compliment him, he ended up winning this league last year. I ended up taking second. It kind of sucks. I put up 200 points in back-to-back weeks, or in both leagues the week prior, so that one kind of sucked. Moving forward, we have my brother here, Sam Darnold, who surprisingly had another great year last year, which actually kind of made me a little annoyed because I don't really think Darnold's that great of a quarterback, but proved me wrong last year, and I can't knock it. Aside from that, he's got HN and Henry. I like that running back duo. It just sucks that Henry's going to be towards the end of his career, so my brother's going to have to do some work there. CeeDee Lamb and Pickens. I'm never really a big fan of having the same receiver from the same team in the starting lineup. But this worked last year, so maybe it'll work again this year. I know he was trying to trade Pickens at one point last year just to try to get the diversity on the team, but unfortunately he could not. So kind of just had to stick with it. He also had Javonte Williams, so he was really relying on 3 Cowboys there at one point, which was kind of crazy. But aside from that, you got Brian Thomas and Travis Kelce, who actually just signed a 3-year extension, so he's going to have him for a few more years. And then Michael Wilson, again, I think he's going to come out as a wide receiver 1 in that offense. Christian Watson, don't really have high hopes for. And then Michael Penix, who may or may not be the starter this year. We don't know yet because Tua is going to be fighting for that starting spot. On his bench, he's got 2 really old guys, so he's really only got 2 quarterbacks to utilize. So he might want to make a move for a quarterback here at some point just to be safe. On his bench, he does have Judkins, so at least he does have that flex option there in Judkins. Brian Robinson, who we don't know what's going on with, he's one of those free agents still out there, so we'll see what ends up happening there. And a lot of this is just free agent galore on his bench. Tyreek retiring, so he's going to have to end up dropping him, most likely. I thought I saw something about him retiring, but apparently not. Keenan Allen, D-Hop, it's kind of, I don't know, you just have to get lucky there. And then Hodgins, who I don't know how to feel about, and the rest of these guys I just don't really know how to feel about, really. So looking at his picks, he's at least got a few picks here. He gained 1 off me at one point. He's actually got 3 first rounds this year. That's actually crazy. I don't remember who he traded to get the 1-8, but he traded someone else to get another first round pick, and then he's got 2 first rounds down the road. So he's got a lot of picks to work with, so he can get a youthful team down the road, and hopefully some bench players. Connor, who probably has one of the better teams in the league right now outside of his quarterback position, J.J. McCarthy, not going to be starting, so I'm not even going to touch on that. Chase Brown, who I really like, Jaylen Warren, another really solid option, Nico Collins, Justin Jefferson, Ted McMillan. He ended up training for Collins partway through the year, so that's why he does have that dynamic trio there, which is really nice to have. Brock Bowers, another solid addition. The 1 week I played him, Bowers popped off for like 40-some points. It was kind of annoying. Vital and Rice there in his flex spots, and then Trevor Lawrence. I really like Trevor Lawrence there. He's going to have to roll with Trevor Lawrence and Geno Smith because McCarthy is not going to be starting anywhere. He's going to be a glorified backup, and I will stand by that. So I'd like to see him trade for a quarterback there. Looking at his running backs as well, I really like Scat there on his bench, and I still like Caleb Johnson on the bench. I think he's just going to be a developmental player. It's going to take him probably another year or 2 before he finally gets into a full swing of things, if he ever does. Other than that, he's really just got Calvin Ridley and Hunter Henry there on the bench. And then in his taxis, he's got Nick Nash and Shamir Dyke. I actually like both of these guys. I wish Nash was given an opportunity last year because I think he's a really talented receiver. We'll see if maybe he gets an opportunity this year. But Dyke already showed he can play, so we'll kind of see how that pans out next year for him because that could be a player that does really well for him. Because he traded for Nico Collins, he gave up a few picks in that mix. 2 first rounders, actually 1 came from me, and then 1 of his own. So I ended up helping him get Nico Collins at some point because I jumped the gun on Josh Allen right away last year. So moving forward here, we have Crawford, who's going to have Jalen Hurts, Tyler Algier, Dre Miller, who I don't think is going to have any impact this year, Jordan Addison, Ladd McConkey, Ricky Pearsall, Ferguson. And then we got Warren, Dobbs, Cam Ward. I actually don't mind his quarterbacks at all. I wouldn't have either one of them as my starters. Shedeur Sanders as a backup, I guess, is okay. Aside from that, his receivers are kind of hit or miss. Like Romeo Dobbs, I don't know how well we're going to see him do this year in New England. Addison, I don't know how well he'll be utilized. McConkey, really great rookie year and then kind of a slump that second year. So it's a little interesting to see kind of how his team's going to pan out a little bit. Adonai Mitchell on the bench I really like. Ray Davis I like as well as a backup there. In case something does happen to James Cook, Davis could step into that role and be a really solid running back for him. Other than that, nothing crazy there on the bench. He's got Sharp, so he's at least got that in his back pocket as well. Sharp's going to be his RB1 for sure, and then he's got all these picks here, so he's always one of those guys that likes to have a bunch of picks and just bank on the young guys down the road, so he's always kind of like a developmental team right away of he's going to have to figure out what his team's going to look like in later years and just kind of take the hit the first years, or at least be a little bit competitive the first years, I guess. But moving forward here, we have Jake's team. consistent of Burrow, Dowdle, Harvey, St. Brown, Mooney, Washington, who at some point he's going to end up moving to the bench because it's going to be a wasted spot, McBride, Higgins, and then Hubbard, and then on his super flex spot he's got Stroud. And bench quarterbacks, there's your bench quarterbacks. I don't got much to say there. Joe Mixon, I think his time is done. Backup running backs, I think, is really weak, to be honest. I mean, you'll have James Conner for maybe a year, if he even plays a full year. He's got to compete with Tyler Algier and Trey Benson this year, so I don't know how much we'll see of him. Okonkwo, who I actually really do like, especially now in the Washington offense, so I think that benefits him quite a bit. And then I still like Tank Dell. It's just we're not going to see much of him. And then Luther Burden. Melrose as a backup, and then Chisholm as a wide receiver there. He's also got some picks. He traded my dad, Michael Pittman, last year, so he's got some picks there in his favor. Not a bad team. We had some battles this year, so that was always fun. Next up, Joe, and I actually talked to Joe last night about his team, funny enough. He's got a really old team and a team that definitely needs some work moving forward. Dak Prescott being the starting quarterback, CMC, I don't mind those two. Aaron Jones, he's on his way out. This will probably be his last year before he retires. And then you got Zay Flowers and JSN. I do like this trio for the most part. I just think Flowers and Smith are very, very hit or miss, personally. And then you got Kittle, Montgomery, and Tucker there, with Stafford there at his super flex spot. So I would like to see him make some sort of move towards another flex player or someone at least younger, trade away a pick or two, try to get something going in your favor there so you can set yourself up for the future. Nothing on his bench I'm really going to touch because I don't really care for his bench a whole lot just due to the nature of the team. His taxi spot, though, if JT ever does get hurt, I think Giddens will be a nice replacement there. And then Westrapo, now that they've picked up Wandale, I don't think is going to be utilized, so I don't know what to think there. Joe made no trades last year, so he's got all of his base picks. Like I told him last night, I think he should be making a trade for some sort of wide receiver or running back. Try to get something younger. People value first round picks, so I told him try to get something out of it. We'll see what he ends up doing there. I don't know if he's going to do anything or not. Moving forward, we got Josh Allen here on Caleb's team with Williams and Irving. I really like this trio right here. 50-50 split last year, so maybe he's on the downfall. I don't know. Other than that, DJ Morgan and traded to Buffalo, I think, is a huge buff for his wide receiving core because DJ Moore in Chicago was just a waste after Justin Fields was gone. So I think him getting moved to Buffalo is great for him. Shakir, on the other hand, I don't think highly of Shakir. Worthy, I think, could have some value this year if Rice does miss time. But if Rice is playing, I don't know how effective he'll be. Kyle Pitts, I don't mind. I still think they're stronger tight ends he could end up going after. And then he's got Brandon Ayuk, Swift, and then Knicks there with Shuck and Tua on his bench. So he's got four quarterbacks that I don't mind. Tua being like that low on the podium type quarterback. So I don't know if Tua is even worth it for anyone. But other than that, Jonathan Brooks, who again I think is not going to be of any value. I think trading him away is going to be more beneficial than anything. I like Felton, but I got a feeling the Vikings are going to bring in someone like D-Hop. I don't think he's going to be anything more than a special teams guy this year. Noel, I do like. Hopefully he'll start to stand out a little bit more this year. That would be ideal because I actually think he'll be a really good receiver. I think he'll actually be better than Higgins. That's my hot take of the day. So just bear with me on that. I do think he's going to be better than Higgins. Booty there on his bench. I actually still really like Booty, even with them signing Dobbs, so we'll see if anything happens. And then Caleb, another guy who did not do any trades last year, so his picks are all the same there. I don't think he's going to end up keeping any of his taxi squad guys either. Moving forward, we have Parker-Connor, the brother duo running the same team here. We got Justin Herbert, solid quarterback. I love Justin Herbert. Josh Jacobs, and then Kenneth Walker. I don't know Kenneth Gainwell. Wow, I am butchering names already today. I don't know how well he's going to do this year in Tampa, being that compliment to Irving. I just don't know how to judge him. You got T-Mac there, Jamar Chase, Jamison Williams. Not a bad trio. It's just he's getting old. Jamison Williams always tends to have a slower start to the year, so we'll see if he can start off quick this year. Juan Jennings, not on a team. kind of toxic a little bit, so I don't know if where he's gonna land. So I don't know how to judge him either. And then Tony Pollard, I don't mind, but that is top tier option there for me. Sorry, I don't know why I'm yawning so much. Um, Jameson, Jameis Winston, McLaughlin on the bench. They need a quarterback desperately. Chase Edmonds, who you could drop at that point. I like Tajee. They got both the running backs there, so I think that'll benefit them. Devontae Adams should be good for another year. Cooper Kupp, meh, washed. Cooks, washed. Um, yeah, a lot of washed players, in my opinion, here on this roster. So not a whole lot to really say there outside of the fact that they have Najee there on their IR. And Polk, I don't know what's going to happen with Najee at least, and Polk, who the hell knows. He is supposed to be like this really talented receiver coming out of college, and he hasn't done anything in the NFL yet, so I don't know. Gunnar Helm could be really good for them because they don't have a Chig anymore, so hopefully he'll be used a little bit more. He was used a decent amount last year, and he could very well step into that starting role. And then Ewers still taking a back seat there to Willis, so I don't expect much there. And then Sanders as well. Kind of see how that pans out. But picks, all the same, they did make a trade with my dad last year. They ended up trading Marv and Laporta for Jameson Williams and Mark Andrews. So that's, I think, the only trade I saw them make last year, and it was right before the season, too. So next up, we have Brian's son here, Mr. Anderson. I don't actually know his son's name, so that's what we're going to call him here. But he's got Baker Mayfield, who I don't mind at quarterback, Saquon and Gibbs. That's probably the best running back duo we have in Dynasty right now, so I like that. A.J. Brown, I don't know how to feel about. I really like Chris Olave, Godwin. Yeah, that's all I got to say there. You got Goddard, Higgins, and then yeah, I don't know what to say about that. Something needs to be done there. Again, another quarterback would be ideal for his team at least. On his bench, Tyrone Tracy, I like that. If Scat's hurt, that's always going to benefit him. Ramondre Stevenson, who I don't know if I really even care about anymore, truthfully, if I'm being completely honest. Pacheco, his time is done because he's going to be taking second seat there to Gibbs, and then you have Matthew Golden, Shepard, Renfro, Gabe Davis. I like Kincaid and Likely, so maybe he fills in Kincaid and Likely in his flex spots here. Could have some possibility there. Don't hate that idea. Tunges, if Kittle gets hurt, showed he can be a valuable asset, so see what he does. Again, no trades ended up happening here. I think he made a trade with my brother at one point, and then it was past expiration, and they reverted it because he was okay with that. So, yeah. And then lastly, we have Baldylocks, my boss at work. Aaron Rodgers is a starting quarterback, which he's getting old. He needs to get some youth there. He does have Patrick Mahomes, so just ignore that comment if you don't really care to hear it. Brees Hall and JT, I like that duo. Probably, in my opinion, like the third best probably duo in our league currently. Could argue for second. Deebo Samuel, who has yet to sign with anyone. Waddle, who got traded to Denver, and he's got Waddle and Sutton, so I don't know what to really tell him there because that's just tough. Hawkinson, I think, is going to have a decent year as long as he gets some touchdowns behind Murray. Woody Marks, I like, but they ended up signing Montgomery, so I think he's going to be taking a backseat again this year. Mike Evans, I don't mind, but he's just super injury prone, so I don't know how often he'll be able to use him. He's got Jackson Dart. He also does have Daniels and Mahomes, so truthfully, if he doesn't make any trades, and the only way he's going to be able to make a trade is by trading away one of his young quarterbacks, he'll be fine at quarterback, but he's going to have to draft really well because the rest of his team, if we go through this, I mean, Devin Neal I have high hopes for, but they ended up signing ETN, and he's behind ETN and Kamara right now, so what's he going to do there? James, who knows what's going to do. I heard the 49ers are looking at re-signing Brian Robinson, so he might just be third fiddle yet again. Pat Bryant I like, but again, you have three Denver receivers right there, so what are you going to do there? Royals, I don't know. I don't have any hopes there. Tyler Lockett, done. Ferguson behind two tight ends. Not much to say there. He's at least got Kraft there on his bench or on his IR. Luke McCaffrey maybe if they don't sign Debo again and they don't sign any receivers, so maybe there's something there. And then on his taxi, it's just kind of a meh situation there. All the same picks. He also did not make a trade. This league compared to our other one is a lot more dead. Unfortunately, I wish there was more trades happening in this league and just kind of having more people kind of paying attention to things, but you don't always get that in every league, and I understand that, so I don't try to stress about it too much. I just throw out trades and see if anyone will do anything. But like I said, guys, if you have any video ideas, please send them to me. I would love to take a look at them because I need some sort of ideas. I think what I'm going to end up doing for sure is ranking wide receivers, quarterbacks, running backs, all that works. Um, Probably doing like a top 40 and doing 4 different videos on each one. Just kind of breaking them down, how many points I think they're going to have going into this next year. And then obviously the rank as well. And then aside from that, I don't know really what I want to do. I think there's going to be some like mock drafts that I think the pro teams will end up doing within their draft going into draft season. Um, but I really don't have a crazy amount there. We don't have any trades going on. Every time a trade's going to be posted, I'm going to be uploading a video that night or the next day. And yeah, once the season rolls around, it'll be a little bit easier because it's going to be here's what I think's going to happen this week, and then maybe have 1 or 2 other videos throughout the week just to kind of recap and give updates to how the season's going. But that's all I got here for you guys today. I appreciate you for stopping on by. As always, like I said, I was trying to keep this under the 45-minute mark that I had last time. Um, with this league being a little more dead and not having as much history, it was a little bit easier to keep it down to that mark. Once next year rolls around, it's going to be a lot more talking. So, see you guys in the next one, and have a good night.